And now we are recording. Second time around. For you're wondering why I'm sounding a bit frustrated, is because I started recording Mono e Mono episode 3 with my guest here today, Al O'Donoghue, and we were speaking for the last 5 minutes, and then I realised I didn't hit the record button, so I'm going to start this again. We are here in the Brown Hound coffee shop, pastry shop, bakery, I suppose they call it. We managed to get a little quiet corner in the background, VIP area, to get this discussion going. And so Irish Al O'Donoghue, this man runs the CA coaching, helping the parent, and is involved in the Anfield Index. And I'm going to get straight back into it again and let Al give you an introduction to who he is, and a little bit about his background and his life as almost as a professional footballer in England with Hull, which I'm literally just after finding out about again. So I'm going to hand you over to the man himself.
Thanks very much, Shane. As I said previously, it's
just exactly as you did before, please.
It's an absolute pleasure to be invited onto the Mono e Mono podcast. I suppose my name's Al O'Donoghue, and I'm from Entrada. Left at 18 years of age. This is literally the exact same conversation we had. Left at 18 years of age. Was never coming back, and 10 years later I was buying a house in Entrada. I suppose I went to college in England when I was 18 because I didn't get enough points to get into any of the courses I'd applied for in the Irish CAO.
Rocket science was one of them, wasn't it?
It definitely wasn't. I'm not even going to tell you what it was. I think the top one was Law and Trinity, and that was just never happening. I don't think I even got half the points I needed.
Law and Trinity, medicine in the College of Surgeons.
Unfortunately, my work ethic in school didn't match my belief in myself, so it didn't add up. So I went to college in England and went to Hull, which literally is the end of the line. I'm sure you've probably never been to Hull, even in all your time living in England. And I went to college. I suppose in terms of my football career, potential professional football career, I had trials with Hull City because a former coach of mine at junior level he was friends with the manager of Hull City, and he kind of rang up and said, look, you should give this lad a look. So I went to trials, and it went okay. Didn't set the world alight, but I suppose we had kind of conversations back and forth, and I kind of petered out, and I kind of believed that I was going to finish my college degree and then sign for Hull City and become a professional footballer. And that's when kebabs and 20 pence a pint entered my life and quickly ruined my football career. But I suppose it was the only first year in college to get into the senior football team. So it was going pretty well, and then I got a bad injury towards the end of my first year, and I just piled on the weight. Just piled on the weight and got myself. I didn't really get back to full fitness, and I went back, and they asked me to be the coach of the first team in college, and so I said yeah. I was an alright coach. Wasn't the best, wasn't the worst, but it took me a while, and I just kind of missed playing. I just wanted to get back on the pitch. I didn't want to be kind of a player coach either, because
you're only young at this stage.
I was 19. 20, no, I was 20. I turned 20. I was turning 20. Yeah. So
you still had a lot of years ahead of you.
I did, yeah. So no, I got back into playing again, and I suppose it just never happened after that. And I'm okay with that. I've no regrets over it. Just different life path.
Yeah.
I hasten to mention that Hull were in the 4th division at this stage, so they weren't the Premier Division team that everyone thinks of, So look, it was what it was. But I finished my degree in social science, which I loved. I was looking to go into a criminology course in Liverpool with the main psychological profiler in Britain. But I applied too late. But in fairness to him, he gave me an interview anyway, and I went in, and he said, "Look, I'd like to give you a place in the course, but we're full up, like with people who have the same kind of background as you. We're sure you do really, really well, but they did apply first." Because I did my thesis on psychological profiling of serial killers, and I'm just fascinated by it, So then I came back to Ireland, living at home, and my granddad's aunt gave got me a job in Dublin, a probation hostel, working with kids who are coming out of prison. So that's where I started working with young people, and it was an experience, a residential centre with some really kind of brilliant young people and some not so brilliant young people. I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about the impact that we can have on younger people, even if they're only a few years younger than us. And it really inspired me to look at myself and go, well, look, I can actually have a positive impact. I don't need to be, a professional footballer to do it. I don't need to be changing the world. I just need to make a difference in the lives of some of these young people. So that went well. Looking back, I had kind of issues around how it was run. It was a very different time there. There wasn't the same kind of child protection laws. I saw kids kind of at 16, 17 end up dead due to heroin that wasn't necessarily their fault, that kind of thing. So it was quite eye-opening for me in terms of life and stuff. And then I moved back to England, back to the UK, and I moved to Leeds and had an unbelievable year in Leeds. Absolutely loved it. Loved the city, loved the people. Got a job working in another residential centre for kids who've been abused, which again was another step on for the eye-openers. Some of the things I suppose I experienced there were, they not hardened me, but they made me, I suppose, accept that, there are things in life that are really, really difficult, and it made me appreciate the upbringing I had. I was working with kids who, at 10, 11 years of age, had been taken away from their family because their family were involved in paedophile rings and stuff like that. So, this is real life, and I think that's the big thing. That's one of the most difficult things that people we don't want to acknowledge, but it's part of life. So
I think even that's what year was this when you went over to Leeds?
I went back to Leeds at about, I think it was 2001.
Like even since then, the awareness of that horrible part of society is so much more blatant now. It was more hidden back then, so I was just sure it was even more of a shock.
Yeah, it was, and I suppose ultimately, I wasn't dealing with the instigators. I was dealing with the young people, and again, from my previous experience, it was a case of, look, whatever their situation, whatever they're coming from, I need to be a positive role model for them, and that's been a thread throughout my career. I need to be a positive role model for these kids who, their experience of adults had been a very, very negative one. So it was, I was dealing with kids who were the result of incest and stuff like that. It was really, really, really tough. And I don't want to bring the tone down, but this is what it was. So, looking at, there's a young person, there's a child in here who needs to see somebody positive who's not going to hurt them. So I did that for a year. I ended up being a shift leader there. I kind of progressed quite quickly through it. I think mainly because of the way I viewed it was not to detach myself from what they've been through, but just focusing on them and where they're at in that moment. So then I moved back to Ireland. Got a job in a school for kids with learning difficulties in the residential section of it, where I would have been dealing more with families and kids with severe learning difficulties who couldn't necessarily, the parents couldn't look after all the time. So that was working with young people was enjoyable. The setup wasn't good. My boss was not a nice person. I was on probation, I suppose, and what they did was probably I can understand why they did it, but they put me in a house on my own, whereas all the other houses had 2 staff. But because of when I think about my experience, it was relatively limited in compared to what I'm at now. But compared to the other staff, maybe I was a bit more experienced, and coming back being a shift leader, they obviously felt that I could deal with it. But in that type of environment, it's very, very difficult to run a house. Basically, it was just running a house. All the activities that the young people had to do.
And how many people are in a house?
So there was 6 to 8 young people. Okay. Again, thankfully, child protection laws have kind of reduced that number. You know what I mean, which is good. And I would, basically take care of them day to day when they weren't in school.
I suppose even from your position nowadays, if you're on your own in a house with 6 to 8 children, it's dangerous for you because you know from insurance standpoint or anything like that. So
it gets better, don't we? But that's true. Even for your own sanity, to have somebody else be able to kind of go, look, I need 5 minutes to just go get my head, because it was intense. It was very intense, and so I was on probation, and then it wasn't working out. And they kind of said to me, well, you need to pull up your socks. And I said, like, I don't have an ego about my knowledge and myself. I know that all the way through my career, I've known that there's so much I can learn and always improve on. So I said, well, you tell me what you see needs to be changed, and I'll absolutely change it. And they didn't.
Okay.
So we ended up getting to a point where they were basically saying, look, we're going to let you go. I said, let me go without a fight, because the setup here is completely unprofessional and wrong. So I got the union in, and I remember sitting there with the union guy, and he said, look, I'm probably not going to be able to save your job. And I said, I don't care about the job.
Yeah.
I just want the practices in this place to change for the staff, because we got very close to the other staff. We were really, really good friends. And so they came in, the union guy came in, and there was a meeting with the director, my manager, and my supervisor. And the union guy basically tore the whole system to shreds. The director kind of was stunned at the way I'd been treated, and basically unprofessional way I'd been looked after. So I believe after I left, so my job wasn't saved. I got let go. For the first time in my life, I'd not been in education or unemployed. I was living in Dublin with my now wife, and it was tough. So I was unemployed for about 3 months.
Just to go back to that.
Yeah, sorry.
So basically, after the union guys come in, was there an improvement in the system?
I believe there was. Yeah, I believe they didn't allow one person to work.
Well,
on their own.
That's saying a positive out of a negative.
Yeah, and I don't look back with anger or resentment or anything like that. It's for me, I don't live with regrets. I don't pay attention to regrets, because there's no point. You either just you take the learning out of any particular situation, and I'm not quoting John Kavanagh or whatever, but it's true, because you can't change it.
Yeah.
All you can do is look, well, what will I not do again, or what can I change so that doesn't occur again? So I suppose that I took a lot out of it. At the time, it was kind of scary as well. I had bills to pay, I had rent to pay, and the whole lot. So I can still remember, like, the week after I left, sitting down with my mum, and I said, you know what, I love a job where I was travelling around working with different groups of young people, and I think I really, really enjoy that. So obviously I was applying for jobs left, right and centre, and I applied for a job with Ferroga in the Tala Youth Service. I had no idea what it was. It was pure education. Literally had no. I went into the interview and I had no idea what I was talking about. I just bluffed it, but I got the job. And it turned out the job was driving around, working with different groups of young people around drug education. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I can still remember, sitting there a couple of months in and sitting down with Julie and kind of going, I can't believe I've actually got the job that I had said I wanted. So I had a great 2.5 years doing that in Tala Youth Service. Met some fantastic young people. I met young people in really, really difficult situations, but the resolve that they had, and the fight that they had, and plus the restrictions that were being put on them as well. I had one girl she could have got a scholarship into any college. She wanted to be a doctor, but she was from Jobstown. And
you listen to this, Paddy Houlihan?
Yeah. she was from Jobstown, and her dad said she wasn't going to go outside of Tala IT. That was as far as she was allowed to go. And she ended up going to Tala IT and doing nursing. And I never knew what happened to her, but she had the intelligence, she had the the knowledge, the school knowledge. She could have got a scholarship, definitely. And I kind of think, so, I was just frustrated for her. The flip side, I saw kids, living with, in families where drugs were a major issue, and they just didn't touch it, didn't go near it, and it was, that was really inspiring as well. So I suppose in that time, we decided to move back to Entrada. We were kind of looking at getting a 2-bedroom place in Dublin, and my dad was selling houses at the time in Entrada. He said, look, you'd get a house down here for the same price of what a 2-bedroom apartment is. So we came down, looked at one house, bought it.
Yeah, job done.
Yeah.
It's like kind of like when my dad used to have the clothes shop, and I used to love customers like you. They come in, look at a jumper, I'll take it.
Yeah,
Job
get
done.
out.
Get out.
Yeah, and the way I shop has stayed the same.
They saw you coming.
Yeah, absolutely. And no point. I'm crap at haggling. Like, you know what I mean? I couldn't go to any of these places, North Africa and stuff like that, and say you have to haggle. They nearly get annoyed if you don't. I'd be like, I tell you what, I'll give you extra money. So we moved back here. The commute was a killer. Sitting on the M50 every morning was an absolute killer. So the same job, working for Faro again, came up in Blanchardstown Youth Service. Applied for it, got it. Had another 2.5 great years there. Exact same situation as Entrada, just some amazing young people, amazing people to work with. But in that time, we had a baby, had our first child, and again, the commute was, we were both working in Dublin, relying on our parents and stuff like that to help us out. And a job came up in Entrada, a brand new project, a Garda diversion project. And I didn't go for it because I had decided I didn't want to work with that type of young person again. I'd done whatever the years of it, and I was looking for something a bit different. And a guy actually working in Blanchardstown got offered the job, and he turned it down. So it got re-advertised, and I kind of went, 10 minutes from home, all right, I'll throw my hat in the ring. Got the job. And I've been there for 10 years running the Garda Diversion Project in Entrada. So I suppose the Garda Diversion Project, for anyone who doesn't know, is a project that works with young people who are in trouble with the law or have potential to be in trouble with the law. And it's around trying to build a structure around them with their families to help them keep away from the court system. 2017 was the first time that any young person I engaged with went to court. So we had huge success. Now, obviously, I won't take all the credit. It wasn't just all down to me. But again, I was working there on my own up until last year. I was the only person. Now, I rely very heavily on volunteers, and I'm so lucky that the community spirit around Drogheda, when it comes to volunteering, has improved immensely. So I would normally get students. I'd take students on placement for 3 months from the local colleges, and then they always stayed on. They just never left, because I suppose I've been involved in writing for August student policy guidelines, because I always felt that there was a lot of discrepancy across the board around how students were looked after. So some people would see them as a help. Some people would see them as you have to come in, do all the cleaning, all the crap jobs. Whereas I view it as we're there for them. We're here to help the next generation of youth workers come out and be better experience. So I went back and rewrote the guidelines for Frog, which I think have been adopted. I've been told they've been adopted nationally. And I think that's why the students all stayed on, because they felt that I can actually learn here, I can actually improve, and I got them involved in every aspect of the work. I got them involved in creating programs, running programs. So trying to say to them, look, you have so many skills, you have so many things that you can do them. This is an opportunity to do them and try them out. And if they don't work, it doesn't matter. Just at least you're trying something new. So that was great. So I then got a second worker last year, and that's been a massive help to me and the project as well. It's taken a lot of pressure off me. In the meantime,
yeah, we're getting on to it, because a reason why I do mono y mono is I meet some extraordinary people along the way who from all different backgrounds that I wouldn't usually touch on. This is one of them, for example. But in general, the people I talk to are also entrepreneurs, and they're doing these incredible things and also running a business. So if you just want to touch on that for us.
Yeah. So I suppose in I had done quite a bit of extra study after I left college. I'd done certificates in psychotherapy and counselling and stuff like that. And then I came across life coaching. And I just really liked the feel of it, where psychotherapy side of things I really enjoyed, but it was dealing with maybe stuff that was in the past. And I like the immediacy of coaching, where it's, you come to me and you say, look, this is where I am, and I'm not kind of content here. I need to get to here. And I like that kind of progressive, forward-thinking way of working. So it's very much, well, let's look at it. You still discuss the pitfalls or the things that might hold us back, which could go back into the past. But I suppose I studied it in I qualified in 2006 as a life coach, and tentatively kind of had clients on and off, but nothing too major. And then in 2009, myself and my dad set up CA Coaching. He had been in the housing business, and it collapsed, and we both kind of went, well, look, let's do this and we'll see what happens. He subsequently kind of moved more away and he set up his own business doing event management. But the coaching business has been thoroughly enjoyable, but I never knew where to pigeonhole myself, because I don't like pigeonholing myself. Yeah. I'm interested in so many different things, but I suppose along the way I had to kind of look at, well, where's my expertise? Where's my background? So it was with working with young people and families. So at the time in the project, a lot of the parenting programs I was sending or suggesting to people to go on were very fluffy. So people were coming back from them going, yeah, it was really interesting and, I liked what they said. I still don't know what the hell to do. So along with my dad and another guy, Michael Murphy, we created the Positive Parenting Skills Program, which was very much skills based. Right? It was looking at what can you do when you walk home tonight that's different to what you did before. And that really took off. A lot of people were coming back going, this is just exactly what we need. So I also branched out into private coaching, and I started to go online, and I've had a lot of clients from around the world now, which is fantastic. I love that entrepreneurial kind of spirit where I find it difficult to switch off. My head is going all the time, as I'm sure you.
It's 24/7.
It is literally
that switch.
It is, but I love it. Yeah. So there's times where you're kind of going to bed and you're lying in the bed going, right, I am so tired, but this is a great idea. Yeah. And you come up with all these different things. So I'm always looking to branch out, and decided a few years ago I was writing a book on parenting. I'll give them my experience, so that's still in the process. Yeah. I flew into it for a year, and then I took over Help Me to Parent. I was approached by the previous director, Martina New, and she had been going around the country looking for someone to take over the business. She was looking to get out of it. My first question was, why? Because it seemed like a viable business, and she was looking at her life. She'd had some health issues, and she wanted to kind of do a bit more travelling and stuff like that. She went, I have a full-time job, I can't give it what it needs, so I need someone to take it over. So she had found me through mumstown.ie, which I'd be the parenting specialist for. So we sat down, thrashed it out it was a good 6 or 8 months, and then myself and my mum decided to go in. My mum's a cancer and psychotherapist and one of the most intelligent people I've ever met. So we took that over last January 2017, and it's been a lot more work than I had anticipated, which took me away from the book. But it's been a hell of a journey. It's been really, really enjoyable. We do parenting programs, we do programs for young people across the board. HelpMeToParent.ie, the number 2. And it's been a really, really good journey. It's, like I said, it's been a hell of a lot of work. Trying to keep CA coaching going as well, plus running the youth project. But I love it, and I wouldn't change it. And if I can dot in my little weekends away with my wife, where there's no kids, no responsibilities during the year, that helps to kind of keep me on track. So I decided kind of towards the end of last year that I wanted to get this book done. It's been sitting there. It's kind of like, that itch in the back of your head. So I kind of got myself an editor who is keeping me on my toes big time. 2018 so far has been exceptionally busy. We've loads of things, no different to yourself, lots of things in the pipeline that just need that push. Yeah. But I suppose for me, I see this business being, having huge potential. It's just, I can't leave the other job just yet, because I don't have that space where I can kind of go, okay, I've got a year or two's worth of money behind me, so I can go and just go full pelt at it. So I'd love to go full pelt at it, but it's just, I don't have that money at the moment. Any investors out there?
If anyone listening, how did they get in touch with you?
Contact me at info@cacoaching.ie. But who knows? Maybe Limor will become a backer when you float.
Yeah, well, you're a Limor original at this stage. Like, you've been on one of the first people to join, and we did a podcast together. It's pushing a year ago now. It's
easy,
not far
longer.
off, and that tells you how long it takes. There's a great saying, it's was it 5 years in the making, overnight success.
Yeah, absolutely.
People don't realise the groundwork that's done, but most definitely. And speaking on the podcast, that segues nicely into you are well used to creating audio and podcasts yourself.
Yeah, I love it. Absolutely love it. I discovered podcasting probably about maybe 3 years ago. I'm a massive Liverpool FC football fan. And
who are they now?
Yeah. I'm not even going to talk to you anymore.
This is over. This conversation is over.
So I'm a massive Liverpool fan, have been since I was a kid, and I don't know how I actually stumbled across the Anfield Index. I don't know what persuaded me. It was probably something on Twitter somebody shared, and I started listening to it, and all of a sudden the radio became completely defunct to me, because the music on the radio stations was rubbish. It was annoying me, but I was listening to it because I had nothing else to listen to. So I kind of fell into a black hole of Liverpool podcasts, and then there was one of the guys, John Buskell is his name, who's since become a good friend. He's based in Sweden, and he does a podcast called In Focus, which is looking at different aspects of Liverpool Football Club, and he has one guest on each session, and I was just kind of fascinated by it, and he put a call out to anyone who'd be interested in pitching ideas for topics. So I pitched an idea, I can't even remember what it was, and he came back to me straight away and said, absolutely, do you want to record next week? And I was like, oh shit.
You're like curse here, it's fine.
Oh shit. Okay. And that was my first podcast, although it wasn't my first podcast, because for CA coaching I have been the parenting specialist for LMFM, which is the local radio station, for probably, it must be going on 5 years now. So what I was doing was I was getting sent the audio and just uploading it onto my website, but in my head that wasn't a podcast.
Yeah,
but it was.
Yeah.
So we'd record the radio station. I just put it onto the website, and it was like something just clicked. It was like, this just makes so much sense, and it's so easy to do. So I recorded the podcast with John, and I just went, do you know what? I absolutely love this. I love this whole process of, I don't have to be a radio presenter. I don't have to be well known. I can just sit down with you and we can record a podcast and people will listen to it. Doesn't matter if it's 50 or 50,000. Somebody might get something out of it. So I kind of took that a step further. I kind of went, well, what am I interested in? And one of the big things for me was that motivation. Where do people get the motivation to do what they do? And they don't have to be famous. They don't have to be, professional sports people, whatever it might be. But I always wondered what it was that sparked some people, because in my experience, I saw young people who were extremely motivated, but coming from extremely difficult backgrounds. But at the same time, I saw people from very well-off backgrounds not motivated at all, and vice versa. So I'm always fascinated with what does that make somebody? Is it something that's inbuilt, or is it kind of fostered from, how you're brought up? And then I got into listening to Gary Vaynerchuk.
Gary V,
the main man, and he just, after I got past the American bravado, what he actually says just makes perfect sense in business and in life. Just work. Nothing comes, like you said. 5 years in the making and an overnight success. We have to work for things, and we live in a world where we can get instant gratification, which may be impacting on people's desire to actually earn something. So, I suppose I think you were the very first CA coach in motivation. Yeah, you were motivation interview podcast, because, we met, like I said, probably just over a year ago, and I was really just fascinated by Limor and the idea, but I was also fascinated with, here's a man who was a professional rugby player, and now he's setting this up, and where was the motivation? So you were a great first guest. Well done. I still remember that Thursday evening sitting down in a very cold, wet Moneymore, but it was that kind of spurred me on to kind of go, okay, well, who else can I speak to? And I didn't want it to just be people who'd been highly successful. not excluding you, very highly
Yeah,
successful people.
Thanks for putting me in that bracket. I'm still trying to get there, I think.
But, you know, I've interviewed people who are multimillionaires. I've interviewed people who are volunteers, and what their motivation was. My most success, unfortunately, you're not my most successful podcast.
Well, we'll see after this.
My most successful podcast has been with a colleague of mine who's building a cob house. That has got the most listens.
Right,
it's mental. I don't understand why. Like, I've interviewed, international kind of TV stars, and they haven't got close to
It's kind of like that in YouTube, the sneezing panda video. Those what some people just latch on to a topic and
Absolutely.
love it, and those ones are definitely kind of those most random kind of interviews are sometimes the best. And I think just even from this conversation, it's something I'm latching onto about you and your career path and your life. Sometimes people, they go about faith and it was meant to be. Like, you were pushed into coaching when you were 19, and it wasn't what you wanted to do, but you ended up, that was your career path in the end, helping people by coaching them.
It has never even dawned on me. Until you just said that. But yeah, absolutely. There was something, like, I suppose if I think back to being a teenager or whatever, it was that cliche of, my friends always come and talk to me, but they did. Like, people would talk to me about what was going on, and maybe my friends from when I was a teenager might go, no, we didn't.
What are you talking about? You're talking shy.
But I don't care now, because this is a long time. But I've always been quite a calm person, and maybe that's what it is.
You didn't look too calm when you had to pay for the coffees.
Yeah, Shane was 5 minutes late. Shane always seems to be 5 minutes late, even when the bill's here. It's 5 minutes late. But yeah, I've always been that kind of type of person who just can stay calm in a situation, whatever it might be, and try and be objective. And I suppose the life coaching techniques that I studied really opened my eyes to how in control of myself that I am. It doesn't mean it happens all the time. Like, there are times where we're all under stress, we're all frustrated, we're all struggling with, be it money, pressure, whatever it might be. But we are in control of our situation. So if we're being bullied, if we're being taken for granted, the people can only do that if we allow them, unless they have literally a gun to our head. Everything is within our control, and I don't think people access themselves enough where you literally can do anything. Like, it's the one thing I would say to all the teenagers, and I know half of them, 99% of them don't believe me, but they're in the best possible position. If they wanted to be a rocket scientist, if they want to be a professional rugby player, they can do it. They just have to work for it, but they can do it. Okay, Jurgen Klopp isn't giving me the phone call now. Hull City aren't even giving me the phone call now. And that's okay. But I've got so much more I can do. I know there's huge potential, and we're all the same. So we have all this potential that we leave untapped for whatever reason. Whatever the reason might be. It could be family circumstances. So if I can get across to people, literally look at what you might want to do and give it a go. Try it out. Like, podcasting for me has become such a release. So even when I'm working podcasting, it doesn't feel like work. I really, really enjoy it. But I follow it and I make the time for it. Maybe I should do the same for my book, actually.
An audiobook. There you go. Problem solved.
Do you know what? I wish somebody could climb into my head, take it out and just do it for me. And then I don't mind doing the audiobook. I'm quite happy to do that.
There you go, folks. Lemur exclusive. We're going to have an audiobook from Irish Al.
Absolutely, 100%. Someday, editor, don't listen to this, and she's actually on Limor. So, but yeah, so podcasting has opened up a whole new avenue for me to explore my interests, but also to promote my business as well. Because I want people to get benefit for it. So for me, and it's taking the Gary Vee kind of thing of give it all away because you'll get it back. And I genuinely believe in, if you're a good person, you're a kind person, things come back to you. And I try to be that type of person. And it's the same with my podcast. I try to give away as much information that can help people, because what happens then is they come up and they say thank you very much, or they go online and say that actually made a difference for me. Like I gave a talk down in Kilkenny last week, and a lady who's there went onto the Facebook page and gave us a like and gave us a recommendation because she got information out of it. And it's that kind of thing is, I suppose, goodwill, and it really is really it's imperative to what any of us try to do. So yeah. Jump in, Shane.
That's anytime. That was brilliant. Now we're about 35 minutes in. Usually mono a mono, I kind of try and keep it around 20 minutes, 25 minutes, but I was very interested in what you had to say there. And like in terms of your career, you're definitely, within Ireland, I'm sure in the UK, one of the most experienced people within your field. And if there's anyone listening who's interested in getting in touch with Al, learn some more, he has social media, website, go ahead.
So you can email me at info@cacoaching.ie. You can go on to Allen, ALLENOD101, I think is my Twitter handle. Facebook is Help Me to Parent courses, I think, and CA Coaching has a Facebook page. So that's pretty much it, and I'm open to interacting with anybody.
And of course, the most important of them all, which he forgot about, is his Limor profile at Irish Al, and he definitely touched on it there. We will be doing a lot of stuff for Al in conjunction with our launch, because it is an area that I think podcasting already, but social audio could benefit from it massively because of the interaction, and I think the potential to help people that the instant communication via voice can have. So definitely get over, give Al a follow. I'll tag his username in this podcast as well. And if you want to get in touch via Limor, if you've listened to this podcast, do so.
Yeah.
So I think we will wrap it up on that. Oh, one more thing. Yeah.
I do a Facebook Live free coffee morning every Thursday at 9:30 a.m. where I do answer questions that people have sent in. So if anyone has any questions, fire them in.
There you go, folks. And that wraps up Mono a Mono episode 3. Thanks for listening, and we will be back again soon.